Hello, greetings, comrades and friends, greetings, countrymen and women. Thank you for making a date with me again on Election Update. And the question we are considering today is as follows. Did you know that some elections are going to be held after the August 12 general election? Did you? Did you know that some elections, because this is a general election in which we've got four types of elections going on at the same time. We've got the presidential election, we've got the mayoral or chairperson elections, we've got the parliamentary elections, and we've got the local government or council elections. But did you know that some elections, among these four categories, did you know that some elections are going to be held after the August 12th general election, the one which is coming next month on the 12th? Some elections won't take place. You won't be voting for some of your candidates of choice. And this was made clear by the public relations manager for ECZ, Patricia Luhanga, on the 27th of June, reported by news diggers. She made this statement clearly that some elections are not going to be held on the 12th of August. They are going to be held after the 12th August general elections. The question is, why? And did you see this coming? Did you know that there's a possibility that some elections might not be held at the same time? Has this ever happened before in our election history? That you are going to general elections, some of the candidates, you're not voting for them. Why has this happened? That is the question we are answering. Now, you must understand that all these things that are happening, such as some elections not taking place, all these are part of the rigging mechanisms of the PF. When the so-called new constitution in 2016 was being signed into law by President Edgar Lungu, little did we know that in this new constitution of 2016, what I call the PF constitution of 2016, little did we know that inside that constitution were landmines, political landmines, whereby when you step on them, it blows up in your face. One of those political landmines is the clause that deals with the tenure of presidents, or the presidential tenure. They screwed a little bit with the 2016 constitution to allow President Edgar Lungu to run for a third term. President Edgar Lungu is an illegal candidate in this election because he's running against the provision of the constitution. Yes, you might say that the Constitutional Court has ruled in favor of President Edgar Lungu as being eligible to stand, but that is the Constitutional Court, and we all know that the Constitutional Court has somehow let us down as a people, because all the people, the majority of the people, even us laymen who are not lawyers, even the lawyers of integrity and morality like John Sangwa, have agreed, have interpreted the Constitution for us, in fact, which needed no interpretation. The Constitution was very clear to say when you are sworn in twice, or you've held office twice, you do not qualify to stand again. That was made clear. I'm referring to the issue of the Constitutional Court ruling on the eligibility of Edgar Lungu, President Edgar Lungu, because I want to connect it to the other lacunas or the other landmines that are in the Constitution, which allow the Patriotic Front to have an advantage in the elections. The use of legal or the use of laws, or the use of legal institutions to give yourself an advantage as the ruling party is known as lawfare. Lawfare is the use or the abuse of laws in order to give yourself an advantage. And in this case, we have found that under the Electoral Act, which derives its power from the Constitution, we found that the Electoral Act has got serious lapses. And one of those serious lapses is the issue of allowing elections to be frustrated or to be stopped simply because one of three things has happened. Either a candidate dies, either a candidate withdraws, which the ECZ are calling the resignation. How do you resign from an election? It's a withdrawal, not a resign. Technically, it's a withdrawal. So either you die as a candidate, or you withdraw from the election, you say I'm no longer standing, or 3, you're disqualified by the ECZ. When one of these three things happen, there is the new PF Electoral Act is telling us to say that elections must be cancelled at that category. What does this mean? What this means is that even as we are speaking here, even as you are listening to me, no election is guaranteed to happen. No any category of elections is guaranteed to happen. For example, if among the presidential candidates that are standing in this general election, let's say for instance, Sean Tembo's party, PEP, if Sean Tembo today wakes up and says, I've withdrawn from standing in this general election because I want to endorse His Excellency Dr. Edgar Changwa as the only leader who can lead this country to prosperity, so I'm withdrawing, or I'm withdrawing from the election. That means the presidential election has been cancelled under the Electoral Act, under the laws that we have right now. That's how bad the laws, the ECZ laws are. They allow one person, a non-entity, they can allow a non-entity. Nashala Neka president. A Nashala Neka president can frustrate 18 million people who want to change government in this country by simply withdrawing. And the law says once he withdraws, that election is cancelled. So if he's a presidential candidate, the presidential elections are cancelled. It means new nominations have to be filed in, and an election is held after 30 days. 30 days after nomination. The election is held 30 days after the fresh nominations. Now, ECZ can take its time because it can decide when it's going to hold those fresh nominations. So if they decide they wait 30 days before they can hold fresh nominations, for any reason they can give, then it means elections will be 30 days for them to decide to hold nominations, and 30 days after nominations. So in short, you can be waiting for 2 months waiting for an election because one person has frustrated it. The same applies at parliamentary level. In fact, in Lusaka City, we are not going to have parliamentary elections in 3 constituencies. One of them is Mandevu, because the candidate for a certain party, which I don't know, it's a new party, that candidate died. May her soul rest in peace. Because that candidate died, we are not going to have parliamentary elections in Mandevu. However, as things stand, as of today, the presidential election will still take place in Mandevu. The councillor elections will still take place. The mayor elections will still take place in Mandevu. The same applies for Lusaka Central. No elections. And Chawama. In Chawama, it's been reported that the leadership movement candidate at parliamentary level has withdrawn from Chawama. So in 3 constituencies, there are not going to be any parliamentary elections. That is the current ECZ law for you. What does this mean? It simply means that the Patriot Front, using this law, can decide how many elections or how many candidates are going to participate in the election. It's very easy. How do they do this? Because you discover to say that at the presidential level, you have so many presidents contesting. Some of them you've never heard of them. Some of them you're even wondering, but what is this candidate doing? Some of them couldn't even, for example, a Democratic Party, Hari Karaba failed to provide the 1,000 supporters to endorse his presidency. He failed. That's Hari Karaba. And of course, Hari Karaba, we know a bit about Hari Karaba. He's been in PF before. Hari Karaba failed to provide 1,000 supporters, but there he is standing as a president. These others, we don't even know where they got the 1,000 supporters. Because you are supposed to provide 100 supporters in each province, multiplied by 10 provinces, 1,000 supporters. So there are some people participating as presidents in this election who are not even there. They are not even worthy to be in the ballot because they've never been heard. The whole idea of having these, I call them surrogates. I call them surrogate candidates. The whole idea of having these surrogate candidates on the presidential ballot is to frustrate the electoral process in 2 ways. I've told you that if a candidate at the presidential level withdraws from the election or dies, the election is cancelled. The election is cancelled. Fresh nominations must be filed in. Okay? So strategically, the PF have put in these surrogate political party leaders calling themselves presidents and contesting in the elections. They have been given money. They were funded money to. I mean, where would non-entity presidents get 90,000? Where? So they've been strategically put there to frustrate the process in one of two ways. One of them is withdrawing from the presidential race and therefore causing another fresh nomination and a postponement of the elections. Number two, these presidential puppets or surrogate parties, National Neka Party presidents, these can be used in an event that the UPND or PF fail to reach the 50+1 threshold. The Constitution of Zambia, the amended Constitution of Zambia says, for any political party to form power, they must get 50% of the votes plus 1 vote. That is the law as it stands. If no political party gets 50% plus 1 vote, in short, if no political party scores the majority in the general election, then it forces a rerun. It forces a rerun. And today there is an institution that I've never heard of which conducted a poll on the 12 August general elections. It's called the Political Science Association of Zambia. I've never heard about it. Even the person who leads it, I've never heard about him. But these guys conducted a poll which has been widely reported in the PF media, where they are saying that the projections that have carried out or the polling that they have carried out is indicating that President Edgar Lungu is going to win the elections by 44%, followed by Hakainde Hichilema's UPND by 30%. Of course, that is pure nonsense. Because we all know that the PF won't even get not more than 10% of the vote. Because as I always tell you on this program, 9 out of every 10 Zambians that we meet, whether they are registered as voters or not, 9 out of 10 Zambians you meet on the streets are for UPND and they are for Hakainde Hichilema. In percentage form, 9 out of 10 is simply 90%. So the UPND is very comfortable. We are going to score more than 50% plus 1 of the vote. We can even score as high as 90% of the vote because nobody wants the protected fund. But this so-called political science NGO, some NGO which has just been formed now, Political Science Association of Zambia, says Edgar Lungu is going to score 44%. Where is he going to get that 44%? And Hakainde Hichilema of UPND 30%. How possible is that? Hakainde Hichilema has won this election before the ballots have even been counted. The point that I'm driving at is that if, for argument's sake, neither UPND or PF reach 50% plus 1, they can go into a coalition. Now, that is where the surrogate political party presidents come in. Because all of these to my little presidents, to my small presidents, they will put them together to support the PF. Remember in Bill 10, they wanted to bring in an idea whereby if there is no majority winner, no political party scores 50% plus 1. In Bill 10, the dead Bill 10, the satanic Bill 10, which they wanted to implement, they said you can put together the votes of your allies, lump them together, and you pass beyond 50% plus 1. But that is not going to happen. So what I'm sharing with you is the issue at hand, where the PF is strategically suspending other elections at parliamentary level. Because the reason is simple. The reason why they're using the ECZ laws, the bad laws of the ECZ, the reason why they're using the bad laws of the ECZ to suspend certain strategic constituencies like Lusaka Central, Mandevu, and Chawama, suspending them so that they can be held after the August 12 general election. The reason why they are doing that is because they know to say that in a general election, it's everyone for himself. There is nothing like the way they do in by-elections, whereby if it's Lukasha, the vice president, the ministers, the cadres, everyone goes and packs themselves in Lukasha, overwhelming that area with resources and manpower. In a general election, it's everyone for himself. So the resources of the political party or the ruling party are spread very thin because they have to be in 156 constituencies at the same time. They have to be in 1,618 wards at the same time. It's not possible for you to finance all these areas or wards and the constituencies and rig elections. It's very difficult. So they want to remove some constituencies from the general election and suspend them and say we'll come back to those constituencies later. So that in the event that they win, of course they're not winning, but in the event that they win, then it will be very easy for them to pump funding into these by-elections or the parliamentary seats which are not going to hold elections this year on 12 August. So that is the reason why you have these bad laws. That is the reason why you have these bad laws. And I wanted you as a Zambian to be aware of them. And I want to assure you and reassure you to say, even if they suspend some elections in some parliamentary seats, they are not going to win these elections. Because the people of Zambia, you and me, we are decided to give the UPND and President Hakainde Hichilema an overwhelming vote, and we are going to get a majority. So all these mechanics and machinations and dubious political planning of the PF using ECZ to use very bad laws. They sneaked in bad laws into the Constitution and the Electoral Act. They sneaked in these bad laws which allow an entity to frustrate the election simply by withdrawing. Why did you go? Why did you stand as a candidate? Why were you standing in a particular, for running for a particular office, if you knew that you would withdraw 30 days before the election? Are you serious? This candidate who withdrew from Lusaka Central, why did you apply to be an MP? Then you withdraw 30 days before the election. Who sent you to frustrate the people of Zambia in this election? Those are the issues that are happening. But we have got measures in place as a political party to ensure to say that we are going to win this election. Come rain, come sunshine, we are going to win this election. And we are going to protect the vote. And you, the Zambian who's listening to me right now, should participate in protecting the vote. These issues of reruns are not going to take place because UPND is going to get 50% plus 1. Meaning even the surrogate political parties which the PF has mobilized, these surrogates, soon you are going to hear them to say, no, we are endorsing His Excellency President Edgar Lungu, Dr. Chagwa Edgar Lungu, Commander-in-Chief of the Zambia Armed Forces. We are endorsing him and they are withdrawing. The only reason that may happen is because they want to frustrate the presidential election. But so far so good. The presidential election is on track. And as I speak to you, ballots are being printed in Dubai. The UPND has got its observers in Dubai as I speak, observing the ballot printing, ensuring to say that there are no excess ballots printed. Because the stuffing of ballots with fake votes or fake ballots is done if you don't observe the printing of the ballots. So that is what I wanted to share with you today. If you have missed some of my election updates, simply go to YouTube and type Mainda Simataa. You find my channel is going to come there. You're going to find a list of videos where I'm carrying out an analysis of this election. I'm carrying out an analysis of some news headlines which may concern you and me. But like I always say, the news does not give you an analysis or an in-depth interpretation about what is happening. They only tell you to say, oh, ECZ is not going to sponsor people to observe the printing of ballots. They only tell you to say, oh, some elections are not going to be held at this general election on the 12th. They will be held after. But they don't tell you the reason why. But I've told you the reason why. The reason is to give the PF a upper hand. It's like in war, you're fighting 156 battles. We have got 156 parliamentary seats here. It's like in war, when you're fighting a battle in 156 places, you are less effective. But if you can suspend, let's say out of 156, you suspend maybe 30 seats, you consolidate your resources in these other sectors while reserving your resources for those other 30. That is what the PF is doing. So they are saying, my elections or the parliamentary elections, then Yamot Reserve will have them after 12 August, as if they are coming back. They are not coming back. Those by-elections are going to be held under the UPND government, and we are going to also win them with a landslide victory. Thank you for tuning in. Join me on this page regularly. I'll be going live every day around this time to share with you issues to do with elections. If you have any topic or any question concerning the elections which you feel a light needs to be shed on, please drop me a message in my inbox and I'll gladly answer it. Thank you and God bless.